All right, y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. Okay, so today we're going to be doing a video about color blindness. So we're going to be talking about my experience with being colorblind, so what being colorblind actually means, and then also how it affects going into the military and what you can actually do in the military. So my background with my color blindness, I have red-green color blindness, which is there's basically like three different kinds, but the kind that I am, it's called a deuter color deficiency. So mainly red greens. And being colorblind doesn't mean that you only see in black and white or black and gray. A lot of people think, oh yeah, he's colorblind, he can only see in black and white. That is possible, but it's extremely rare. I think it's probably like 1% of colorblind people. So it's extremely rare. Colorblindness in and of itself isn't really that rare. I think, I don't know, maybe 10% of males are colorblind. I know 6% of the male population has the same color deficiency that I have. So you hear people call it a color deficiency, color blindness, and generally when you say colorblind, people think, okay, black and white. So that's why people tend to say color deficiency to be a little bit more accurate. So I found out I was colorblind when I was in like middle school or something. I think I was like 10. They just came around, they did those tests with all the dots, and you have to read off the number. Of course, I couldn't see the different shades in the colors, so I wasn't able to read the number, and that's basically how they determine it. It's super easy. There's a bunch of other tests you can do as well. There's like Farnsburg lantern test or something. It's basically like they show you a light and you have to distinguish if the light is white or red or green, and it's for my type of color blindness, it is extremely difficult to pass that. So you will see this stuff whenever you go into the military, whenever you go to MEPS, at least if you're going in the US. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So again, there are three different types of color blindness. So if you're talking to someone who's colorblind, you can try and figure out a little bit more about them just by asking them. I think most people who are colorblind will know what colors they struggle with the most, but it's not really too serious for most people. I'd say for me, again, it is reds and greens. So sometimes I will mix up reds and greens, but more than likely, like red will just look a little bit more brown, and then green will look a little bit more like peach. And sometimes blue also looks a little bit more purple. So that's basically how it is. Like this Marine Corps flag behind me, I know it looks like almost like a blood red, maybe like a scarlet red for most people. But for me, it's more of like a maroon. It's closer to brown than it is red sometimes. Even like my microphone, this is like a pretty bright red, but for me, it's not that bright of a red. And it's weird. People are like, how can you distinguish, or how do you know what a color looks like to normal people? Well, it's because people explain the colors to me. So like this, again, people say, yeah, it's pretty bright red. My microphone is a pretty bright red. For me, I just know it's going to be a little bit more dulled down. So if I see something that's red or green, I know it's going to be a little bit more vibrant to non-colorblind people. And that's basically it. It's pretty easy to determine. If someone's like, okay, you're seeing this as peach because it's definitely green to me, I'll learn, okay, yeah, this is green, but I'm seeing it as their peach, if that makes sense. So it's pretty confusing to a lot of people, but in reality, I mean, color is just such a weird concept. My blue can be anyone's red, and you wouldn't know the difference. So it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around if you're not totally used to it. But I'll throw up a picture here so you guys can sort of explain like the color spectrum that I see as opposed to what normal people see. I can still tell the difference between the actual colors themselves on these spectrums, but it's a little bit easier to explain to people who aren't colorblind. But again, it's not too serious. Now, actually going into the military, it is going to affect your options, of course. And I think honestly, there's a big misconception with colorblindness. Again, people thinking it's like black and white, so a lot of people don't understand it. But when you're actually going into the military, it's really not that serious, honestly. So you will go to, at least in the US, you go to MEPS, which is a military enlistment processing station. So you go to MEPS, and then they'll actually do your colorblind test when they're doing your medical screening. And then when they do this, if they determine that you are colorblind, they'll determine how bad you are, how much you actually failed the test by, and they'll just annotate it in your records. Now, what's really confusing is they will annotate it in your records, but that's pretty much it. Like, no one will ever ask you, okay, like, what job do you want? And you'll tell them, and no one is ever going to ask, okay, are you colorblind? It's not a thing. Like if you're going into an MOS where you have to submit maybe like a medical documentation, which really isn't really looked over as well as people would think. Like, I've done a bunch of medical screenings after I joined the military just for certain jobs or certain schools. And there is a section for colorblindness, but nobody ever like figures it out. Nobody ever like fills it in or anything. So nobody really cares. Once you're actually in, nobody really cares. And then also when you join, it wasn't really a big deal for me. It might have changed recently, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. So you could probably get away with doing some jobs that technically you have to have normal color vision for, and you can just go into it. Now, there are waivers, so if you want to get a job that says you need to have normal color vision, you can definitely get waivers. It's extremely easy to get a waiver. You can get waivers for a lot of different things, but colorblindness is an easy one for me. At least I've actually done a colorblind waiver, and it was, no sweat. It maybe took a little bit more time to process my application, but that was pretty much it. So it's not really too serious. And again, it is just annotated in your medical record. And that medical record will get, yeeted in a corner. It might be like a digital medical record that people don't actually scrub or go through. So it's not really going to be like tattooed on your face whenever you're trying to do anything. People aren't going to be constantly asking you if you're colorblind. Nobody's going to even consider that, because most of the time, if you're colorblind, it really doesn't affect anything. Like, yeah, okay, maybe you shouldn't go like explosive ordnance disposal if you are colorblind. Of course, it's not going to be like cut the red wire, cut the green wire kind of stuff. It's not really like that from my understanding. But yeah, maybe for your sake and your safety, you probably shouldn't do that. But like, for example, for me, I was infantry, and then I also did other jobs. So I was on the CQB team. Now, with the CQB team, you need to distinguish reds and greens just because we have like chem lights, or like, I guess it's like the glow sticks, if you will. You have red and green ones to distinguish certain things. So a green chem light would mean like room clear. A red chem light would mean like there's an IED in the room. So it makes a big difference to be able to distinguish that. But for me, it's super easy to be able to, okay, here's a green chem light, here's a red chem light. Once they're actually activated, it's super easy for me to tell the difference. But if you will struggle with that, then maybe you should just either give the red chem light to someone else, or, sort of organize it a certain way, or even just write on them. I ended up just writing on them just to have make it a little bit redundant. Like, okay, I can see this is green, but I'm actually going to write on it anyway, just so I'm sure, because, it actually says it on the wrapper. So there's ways around it. You don't need to be super paranoid that you're going into a job where being colorblind is going to like mess things up. I mean, I even moved into Army reconnaissance, and reconnaissance is a pretty big deal. You need to be able to describe things and send it up on the radio. But at no point was I like, hey, we have like a red tank driving by the road. I'm not really sure. It's definitely red. They definitely spray painted this sucker red, so it'll be pretty obvious for you guys to see, but it's coming your way now. It never happened like that. Like, it's not that serious, especially with like stuff around the military. It's pretty easy to distinguish colors like that. But at no point was it an issue where I was giving up the wrong color or giving up like a weird thing to hire and saying something that was inaccurate. It was never an issue, and I never thought it would be an issue. Now, there is a theory out there that says colorblind people can distinguish camouflage a little bit better than people who have normal color vision. And the reason for that is, if you have normal color vision, you have a camouflage and you tailor it to the environment. So you want the shades to be as close as you can see to the environment. But for me, if I'm colorblind, I can see the trees one way, but all of a sudden, if I see a slightly different shade on like the camouflage itself, it can turn to like a completely different color. So instead of something looking like green, all of a sudden it's like brown, or it's like red, maybe even like a little gray, so I can distinguish it a little bit better. And that's, again, it's hard to explain, but a lot of times people are like, how can you see something like that? And again, it's just because you're colorblind. You can see the slight distinctions, because a color that's supposed to match for normal people all of a sudden goes to the opposite side of the spectrum for me. So it kind of works out as well. So again, you don't need to be paranoid going into the military being colorblind. You shouldn't get precluded from doing a whole lot of things, maybe like electrician, but even still, like, you can be very successful in the military. And if someone's like, hey, you can't do this, like if you have a recruiter that's actually on point and like checks your stuff and he's like, yeah, you can't do this job because you're colorblind, I guarantee you can probably while you're in, switch jobs, and nobody will bat an eye. They'll be like, okay, yeah, he's colorblind, but I mean, he's been fine in the military so far, so we'll just let him switch jobs. So I don't know. I've never had an issue where anyone was checking colorblindness or it really took away my options. So I wouldn't sweat about that too much if that is a concern. So I would just avoid bringing it up in its entirety, even if you know you're colorblind. I mean, if it's not an issue on your day-to-day basis, it's probably not going to be an issue in the military. So I wouldn't really bring it up. I wouldn't tell your recruiter. Let the people at MEPS figure that out. But I wouldn't volunteer to share this information unless you're actually scared for your safety or other people's safety. But that's just my opinion. Again, there's going to be a lot of other people who tell you other things. But being colorblind, it's pretty easy to make the distinction a lot of the time. So really not a huge deal. Now, people also tell me, what if you get those Enchroma glasses, the ones that actually help you see color vision? You know, those glasses where people put them on and they just start like crying, they get super emotional. I mean, maybe it does work that well for people, but I actually have those glasses right here. I've actually owned these glasses. I've owned like earlier variations of these glasses a few times, and they do work. They help like distinguish things. They make reds much more vibrant. They make greens much more vibrant, but that's only in certain lighting conditions. So like if you're trying to use this to like pass a test, like the color blindness test, probably not going to work out. But yeah, so right now I'm putting them on. I can immediately see that my microphone is much more vibrant. The Marine Corps flag is much more vibrant. So it does help like with making things super vibrant. Like my record button on my computer screen is extremely red right now, but that's basically it. Now, if you gave this to a normal person, like normal color vision person, it just looks like a red tint to them. So if you guys can sort of see here, it sort of just looks like a red tint to most people, and that's basically how that works. So it just adds a little bit more red to it, if you will. So it is cool. Now, what I want to do now is do a colorblind test, again, just to confirm what type of colorblindness I actually am, and then see if I can cheat them with these glasses, which I'm pretty sure I already know what the end result is going to be, but I just figured it would be a fun thing that we could do for all of y'all who stuck through until this long in the video. So let's pull up these tests. Okay, so we're on the Enchroma website, and they have this color blindness test that you can do. Okay, so this one, pretty easy. So we have a bunch of greens, and then in the inside it looks, oh, what the heck? Chill. And then the inside we had purple. So let me refresh this so I'm not getting like dinged for being too slow in explaining it. Okay, so yep, that's a 2. Easy day, that's a 4. Again, that's pretty easy to distinguish. Now it's getting harder, so that's a 4. I have no idea. No clue. That's a 6. I think that's a 1. I'll just say 1. That looks like a 9, I think. No clue. That's a 4. Pretty easy. That's a 3, I think. You guys are probably laughing at me right now, but yeah, these tests are pretty cheeky, man, I gotta say. They do a great job of making it really hard to pass. 2, okay, got this. That's a 3, I think. 2. I think that's a 9, but I'm not sure. No clue. That's a 4. That's a 9, I think. That's a 4. That's a 7. That one's pretty easy. I think that's a 9. No clue. I think that's a 1. And then I think that's a 2. Not too sure on that one. No clue. Okay, so let's see. See you later. All right. Yep. So yeah, I'm a Do-10. Severity strong. Okay, so I'm a strong. Let's see. You have a strong Do-10 color blindness. Type of red-green color blindness. Blah blah blah. And then again, they say people with my type of color blindness can benefit from the glasses. Which again, the glasses do work, but it's not something that I would get emotional for. I'm not a very emotional person in general, I guess. But yeah, it's not something that I would freak out for. So. Yeah, so deuter anomaly, I've heard that word before, so let's try it again with the glasses and see if I can get any better. I'm not sure how much I actually... Okay, so here we go. 4% of the world's population in general. Okay, so maybe I was wrong with that number before. And then 75% have the same color blindness that I have. So that's pretty cool. All right, so let's try it with the glasses now. I gotta say, these things are pretty stylish though. Okay, let's start it. Okay, 1. I don't think it's gonna help that much. I can already tell it's not helping that much. 6, I think that's a 3. 9, maybe. I think this is making it worse. I think I'm doing okay so far. I think that's a 2. No clue. I think that's a 1 or a 4. 2, maybe. That's an 8. That one's super obvious. 2. 6. Maybe a 2. No clue. 6. Okay, I think I'm doing pretty good. 3. I think that's 9. I don't see anything. 7 maybe. Nothing. 3. Uh-oh, the thing stopped moving. It's making me nervous. 4, I think. 7 maybe. Okay, they're getting all the hard ones in now. What the heck's going on? Okay, that one's 8. That's a 4, I think. That one also looks like a 4, so I don't see anything there. I think that's a 1. All right, well, let's see if it helped at all. Wow, look at that. Holy cow. Okay, well, I'll just go put my foot in my mouth, I guess. Look at this. I have normal color vision. That's crazy. All of a sudden, I have normal color vision with these glasses. That's weird. It's like these glasses actually are effective in distinguishing certain colors. Okay, so I think I might have also just guessed. Like so with these glasses, I could almost tell the shape. So I could almost guess the number. Like if I saw a straight line that was like vertical, I think that was probably a 1. And then if I saw anything diagonal, it was probably like a 2 or a 7. So I think the glasses gives me the edge in just being able to determine like the shapes, if you will. So that was kind of cool. Okay, so we have normal color vision all of a sudden. So yeah, if you are colorblind, I mean, these glasses were like 200. You can get them without a prescription for pretty cheap now. They actually got them pretty cheap. Well, I say pretty cheap. 200 is still pretty expensive, I gotta say, for sunglasses. But yeah, 200's not really that bad. So if you guys do want to check them out, I mean, it's definitely worth it. I would try and find a place that actually has them so you can like try them on first, or maybe find a buddy or someone who actually has them so you can try them out. Like whenever I find someone who's colorblind, I immediately give them my glasses so they can try it out for themselves, because I just think it's cool. I want to see someone who has that, you know, that emotional reaction where they start crying and stuff. But yeah, it is cool. It does help, again, make things a little bit more vibrant. But you can see there is sort of like a tint or something, like a filter over like all the other colors. But yeah, cool sunglasses. I guess they did actually work, so that's kind of funny. It's kind of cool to do this stuff live to figure out the results. But again, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about color blindness or being colorblind, or how to test for it, or anything crazy like that, how it affects things in the military, feel free to drop that down in the comment section. I'm totally willing to help you guys out. You guys definitely know that by now. I'm here to help you guys out. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot them my way. I'm more than willing to answer them. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you didn't know a whole lot about color blindness, maybe it educated you a little bit. But yeah, it's just cool to talk about color blindness, since a lot of people don't really understand it too well. But yeah, that is it for this video. Again, let me know what you guys think regardless. I do appreciate it. If there's any other follow-up videos you'd like me to do about this specific subject, I can facilitate that as well. But I do hope you guys appreciated the video. That is it for this one. So I'll see y'all in the next one.